All right, welcome to another Wildcat Varsity Bowling live stream. Today we've got the Wildcats from Napoleon against Maumee. We will be focusing just on the boys' teams. Maumee does not have a girls' team. Usually the girls will bowl against a JV team, but due to circumstances beyond Maumee's control, that's not going to be possible, so they're just going to be practicing on the lanes next door. So we'll focus the entirety of this live stream on the Napoleon boys versus the Maumee boys. So Maumee's first up on lane number 2, and they'll start out with a strike. We've got Elijah Wolf for Napoleon up on lane number 1, and Michael Gallagher up on lane number 3. And both of them will start with strikes. Maumee's next bowler up on lane number 2 is a little light, leaves the 1-2-4. Maumee bowler on lane 4 is a little heavy, ends up splitting, leaving the 3-4-6-7. Jacob Hull is up on lane 3 now for Napoleon, hits a little bit heavy, leaves the 3-10. We just saw James Gherkin over on lane 1. He gets 9 and leaves the 4-pin. Maumee's spare attempt on lane number 2, and he picks that up. Maumee's spare attempt gets 1 on lane 4. Jacob with his spare attempt picks up 1, but gets the 3-pin, leaves the 10 standing, and James is just a little bit wide left on his spare attempt. Maumee back up on lane 2. They get 9, leaving the 2-pin. He's a little light. We've got a Maumee two-hander over on lane number 4 and leaves the 3-6-10. Ashton Kiesling is up next for Napoleon on lane number 3. And he'll get a strike. Maumee a little heavy, gets 8 over on lane 1, leaving the 6-9. Spare attempt from Maumee on lane 2, picks that up. Another spare attempt from Maumee, and he leaves that out a little far to the right. Can't get it on lane 4. Maumee's spare attempt over on lane 1 gets 1. Elijah Wolf up on lane 2 with a strike. Michael on lane 4 for Napoleon. Ends up leaving the 5-7. Maumee with 6 over on lane number 3. James Gherkin up on lane 2 for Napoleon. And that's a strike for James. Maumee's spare attempt. Can't convert over on lane 1. Michael with his spare attempt over on lane 3. Nicely done, Michael. Maumee gets 3 out of the 4 on lane number 3. Jacob Hull, lane number 4. And he leaves the 10-pin. Maumee also left the 10-pin on lane number 1. Maumee, lane number 3, a little bit heavy, gets 7, leaves the 3-6-10. Jacob's spare attempt, and he leaves that out to the right, can't get it. Maumee does convert theirs over on lane 1. And a strike for Maumee on lane 2. We've got Elijah on lane 1 and Ashton on lane 4. Ashton with a strike. And Elijah leaving the 9-pin. Maumee with 9 on lane 2, leaving a 10 pin. Michael up lane number 3. Elijah getting ready for his spare attempt on lane number 1. Michael gets 9, leaves the 2 pin. Elijah does convert his spare. A strike for Maumee on lane 4, and a spare conversion for Maumee on lane number 2. Michael's spare attempt, lane number 3. Picks that up. James gets 9, leaves the 10 pin. Maumee up on lane number 4. Light gets 9, leaves the head pin. And a strike for Maumee on lane number 2. See if Jacob makes a slight correction here. There's a strike for Jacob. James with a spare on lane number 1. We've got Ashton up now on lane number 3 from Napoleon. And a strike for Ashton. Maumee got 8 on lane 1, leaving the 1-5. Elijah on lane 2, and a strike for Elijah. Good start for Elijah. Strike, strike, 9 spare strike. Spare attempt coming from Maumee. Can't convert on lane number 1. Michael working on a spare in this last frame. A little light there. Ends up leaving the 210. James leaving the 4 pin over on lane number 2. He gets 9. Maumee with a strike on lanes 1 and 3. Both James and Michael pick up their spares there. Jacob Hull up on lane number 4. See if he figures this lane out. There's another strike. That's back-to-back strikes for Jacob. Spare attempt from Maumee, lane number 3. And he gets it. Ashton. He's got 3 strikes in the first 3 frames. And add a 4th. Michael up on lane 3, Elijah up on lane 1. Nine for Michael, leaving the 10 pin. Elijah ends up leaving the 6 pin. He gets 9. Maumee on lane number 4, also leaving a 10 pin. Maumee's spare attempt ends up leaving that too far out to the right. Michael and Elijah with their spare attempts. And they both make it. James on lane 1, Jacob on lane 3. James ends up getting 6, leaves the dreaded 4, 6, 7, 10 double split. Jacob back on track. He's got 3 strikes in a row now. strike for Maumee over on lane number 4. James, the only decision here is which 2 to take out. He takes out the 4-7. Michael up on lane number 4. And he leaves the 10 pin. Maumee also left a 10 pin over on lane number 2. Ashton picks up his spare over on lane number 3. Maumee can't convert on lane number 2. Michael's 10 pin attempt. And he's inside as well. Elijah's up. This is frame 6 for him. First game. And he leaves a 10 pin. A strike for Maumee on lane number 3. Jacob Hull up on lane 4 with a strike. A slow start for Jacob in the first 2 frames, but he's on fire now. Elijah picks up his spare over on lane number 2. And a strike for Maumee over on lane number 1. And Maumee was just a little heavy on that one, ends up leaving the 3 pin. Ashton up on lane number 4, also heavy, but he gets the strike. I believe James just got a strike on lane number 2. Maumee picks up their spare on lane number 3. Michael coming up on lane number 3 for Napoleon. And he's a little bit light, ends up leaving a 1-2-4-7. Either he missed his mark or he just didn't get through the ball like he should have. Elijah up on lane number 1, and that's a strike for him. And a strike for Maumee on lane number 4. And Michael does pick up his spare on lane 3. James up on lane 1. And he leaves a 10 pin. Jacob up on lane number 3. And another strike for Jacob. Maumee gets 8 on lane number 2, splitting the 4 and the 9. James can't convert on lane number 1. Ashton on lane number 3 hits heavy, pays the price with a split, ends up leaving the 3-6-7. Maumee, their spare attempt on that split. He gets 1. Another split for Maumee over on lane 4. And he'll pick up 2. Now Ashton's got a chance to make this one here if he hits on the right side. Nope, he picks up the 2. He'd have to hit on the right side of the 3 pin and drive it back into the 7. But he did just a little too flush. Maumee gets 7 over on lane number 2. Got Michael on lane number 4 now. Came through that one better with a strike. And a strike for Maumee on lane number 1. And Maumee picks up a spare on lane number 2. And a split for Maumee on lane number 3, the 4, 6, 7, 10. Got Jacob back up on lane number 4. Maumee just left a 4-pin over on lane number 1. That's a strike for Jacob. Elijah's up on lane number 2. And he gets them all to fall. That's a strike for him. Maumee takes out 2 on lane, they're split on lane 3. And they can't convert their spare over on lane number 1. Ashton's up on lane 4 with a strike. Nice ball. James on lane number 2. That's a strike. Maumee leaves a 10-pin over on lane number 1. Maumee, lane number 3, gets the strike. Maumee, spare attempt, lane number 1, misses that to the right. Maumee leaving a 7-pin on lane number 2. Elijah's up on lane number 1. This will be his 9th frame. We've also got Michael coming up for his 9th frame on lane number 3. Elijah will put a strike column or strike in the 9th frame. Michael will do likewise. Starts the 9th frame with a strike. Maumee can't convert their spare on lane number 2. Maumee leaves a 10-pin on lane number 4. James, a little light on his first ball. Gets 7, leaving the 1, 2, and 8. Jacob, lane 3. He gets lucky. He gets the strike. He hit heavy. Maumee gets 8, leaving the 4, 7 down on lane number 2. James' spare attempt on lane 1 is successful. Ashton, lane number 3. He gets 9, leaves the 6-pin. Maumee does convert their spare on lane number 2. Maumee, a little aggressive, a little heavy on lane number 4. Ends up leaving the 3-10 split. Ashton picks up his spare in lane number 3. That'll move us into the 10th frame here in the game number 1. And that's a split for Maumee on lane number 2. 7-10 split. Maumee, lane number 1, starts his 10th frame with a 6. Leaves the 3, 5, 6, 10. Michael getting ready to start his 10th frame in lane number 4. And he'll start the 10th with a strike. Maumee gets a split on lane 3, the 4-6-7. That'll be to start his 10th frame. Michael gets 9 on his second ball. And he gets 1 out of the 3 on lane number 3 for Maumee. And he finishes with a 162. Maumee's first bowler finishes with a 111 on the 1-2 pair. Michael finishes with a nice game of 203. Elijah gets ready to start his 10th frame. He starts out with a strike. Maumee picks up their spare on lane 1, gets 7 on lane 3. Jacob Hull up on lane 4. First ball, 10th frame. He starts out with 9, can't get the 10 pin to fall. Elijah gets 8, ends up leaving a 4-6 split. Maumee can't convert on lane number 3. That's their 5th bowler. He'll finish up with a 144. Elijah can't get either of them. He'll finish with a 234. Good game, Elijah. Jacob, final ball of the 10th with a strike. He'll finish with a 237. Another nice game. James up on lane 2, and he'll start 10th with a split. He leaves the 4-7-9. Ashton getting ready to start his 10th frame. He'll start it with a strike. James gets 2 and finishes with a 146. Ashton gets 9 of them, leaves the 5 pin. Maumee finishes with 8 for a 151 game. And Ashton picks up his spare and finishes with a 217. Teams regroup for just a minute before starting the second game. All right, quick recap of the scores. We had Michael Gallagher with a 203, James Gherkin with a 146, Jacob Hull with a 237, Ashton Kiesling with a 217, and Elijah Wolf with a 234 for a total of 1037. Then we had Maumee, Andrew Bick, 144, Gabe Burton, 151, Michael Awinski, 162, Alex Leeser, 160, and the sub bowler with a 111 for a total of 728. All right. So we had strikes on the 3-4 pair from the first two bowlers. That was, unless they made some changes, that was Michael Gallagher and Jacob Hull. Looks like Elijah started out with a strike. Preston got 7 on his first ball and was only able to pick up 1 in the split. Ashton with 9 on his first ball picks up the spare. So Michael back up. He is indeed the third bowler and N3 on the scoreboard. First Napoleon bowler on the 3-4 pair. And he is a little heavy on that one, gets 7. Ends up leaving the 3-9-10. Maumee picks up their spare down on lane number 1. And a 10-pin for Maumee left after on lane number 4. Michael only able to pick up 2. Maumee misses their spare on lane number 4. 9 count for Maumee down on lane number 1, leaving the 4-pin. And a strike for Maumee on lane number 2. Jacob Hull up on lane number 3 for Napoleon. He's a little bit heavy on that one, but he gets the strike. And Maumee gets their spare on lane number 1. And a 10-pin left for Maumee on lane number 4. Ashton leaving the 3-10 split on lane number 3. Maumee with a strike on lane number 2. Elijah up to his second frame on lane number 1. He had a strike to start the match. And he'll add another strike. Or I should say he has a strike to start this second game. Ashton. Spare attempt underway. And he gets it by going right between them. And Preston with a strike over on lane number 1. Michael, lane number 4. Oh, it looked like a nice ball, but the 7-pin didn't go down. And somehow it re-racked on him. We'll get this sorted out in just a moment. Looks like he's talking to the Maumee. Spare attempt over on lane number 3. Picks that up. Maumee, spare attempt in lane number 1, gets all but one. Elijah, third frame. And another strike from Elijah. Maumee on lane number 3. Little light, ends up getting the 1, 2, 4, 6, 10 is what's left. It's 5. Preston on lane number 2 gets 7, leaves the 1, 3, 9. All right, Jacob coming up on lane number 4 here. And a split. Ends up leaving the 2, 8, 10. Maumee, spare attempt, gets 3 on lane number 1. And Jacob doesn't get any. Ashton's up next, lane number 4. And that one slips off of his hand. And Elijah can't convert his 10-pin. Michael up on lane number 3. And he'll get a strike. Or I'm sorry, that was Michael, I'm sorry. Everybody's wearing masks. It's very hard to tell. Preston's up on lane number 1. And he gets a little help. Ends up getting 9, leaving just the 3-pin. Jacob, lane number 3. Ends up with another split, leaving the 4-10. Maumee with a strike over on lane number 2. Preston, spare attempt underway, picks that up. Jacob picks up 1. Ashton up next on lane number 3. And he'll get the strike. Elijah up on lane number 2 with the strike. Maumee won't convert their 10-pin on lane number 4. Spare attempt from Maumee. Lane number 1 picks that up. Preston, lane number 2. A little heavy. Gets a little help. Gets 8. Ends up leaving just 3-6. Although it counted it as 7. I think there'll be a scoring correction here. Yep. Preston, spare attempt. And he picks that up. Maumee, spare attempt on lane number 4. He gets that one. Maumee with another spare attempt over on lane number 1 as Michael gets ready to bowl on lane number 4. Maumee does convert their spare. That's a good-looking ball from Michael. That's a strike for him. That's 2 in a row. Maumee leaves the head pin on lane number 3. Gets 9. Lane number 1 gets 9, leaves the 9 pin. Jacob up on lane number 4. That's a strike for Jacob. And a strike for Maumee on lane number 2. Maumee, spare attempt on lane number 3, and that'll bring up Ashton on lane number 4. Ashton, that one's heavy, ends up leaving the 3-6. Strike for Maumee over on lane number 1. Or, I'm sorry, that was must have been a spare attempt. Maumee gets 9 on lane number 2. Elijah's up now. This is his 6th frame. Lane number 1. And he gets the strike. It's 2 in a row for him. Ashton, spare attempt, lane number 4. And he just gets 1. Started out just a little too wide. Preston with a strike on lane 1. Michael Gallagher up on lane number 3. And he gets some help and gets the strike. Maumee, strike on lane 4. 9, leaving the 2 pin on lane number 2. Jacob, lane number 3. Jacob with a strike for Napoleon. That's 2 in a row for him. Maumee gets a strike over on lane 1. Ashton's coming up for Napoleon on lane number 3. But first, we've got a Maumee bowler on lane number 4. He's light with that one, leaving the 1-2-4. Gets 7. Ashton with the strike. Maumee had a spare over on lane number 2 just a moment ago. And Maumee picks up another spare on lane 4. Maumee gets 6, leaving the 2-4-5-8 on lane number 1. And Elijah with another strike. That's 3 in a row for him. Speaking of 3 strikes in a row, Michael Gallagher's got 3 strikes in a row. Frames 4, 5, and 6. He'll be coming up to bowl on lane number 4. Maumee picks up 8, leaving the 6-10 on lane number 3. Michael leaves the 10 pin. Preston leaves the 3-6-10 over on lane number 2. Leaves the 1-4 on lane number 1. Can't convert the spare for Maumee on lane number 3. Preston and Michael's spare attempt underway on lanes 2 and 4. Preston gets his, and so does Michael. Maumee picks up their spare attempt on lane number 1. Maumee with 9, leaving the 6 pin on lane number 3. Or I'm sorry, that's the 9 pin. Jacob Hull coming up for Napoleon on lane number 4. Elijah Wolf on lane number 1. A strike for Jacob. And a strike for Elijah. And Maumee does pick up their spare on lane number 3. They also have a spare attempt on lane 2, which they pick up. Ashton up on lane number 4. And he can't get any help. He leaves the 10 pin standing. There's a pin skittering over there trying to take it out, but it goes right in front. Maumee, heavy on lane 2, ends up leaving the 3-6. Michael on lane 3. He gets the strike in the 8th frame. Ashton picks up his spare to close out the 7th. Maumee does pick up their spare on lane number 2. Jacob, lane number 3. Little bit heavy on that one, ends up leaving a split, the 4-7-10. And a pair of strikes for Maumee on lanes 2 and 4. Preston on lane number 1 gets a strike. Jacob gets 2 out of the 3 on his spare attempt. Needed to cut that 6 pin just a touch lighter or a touch thinner. Ashton leaving a 3-10. Maumee gets 5 over on lane number 1. And a 10 pin left for Maumee on lane number 4. Elijah gets a strike. That's his 9th frame. Ashton gets one of the 2 on lane 3. And a spare for Maumee on lane 1 and also on lane 4. Preston on lane number 2 ends up leaving the 2 pin, gets 9. Michael, 9th frame, lane number 4. Didn't come back. Ends up splitting, ends up leaving the 2-4-7, or 2-4-10, sorry. Preston, spare attempt. Just grazes it and knocks it out. Nine for Maumee on lane number 3, leaving a 10 pin. Michael, spare attempt. Try to pick up 2 and hope that the other one kicks over. That's what he did. Couldn't get the 10 pin to fall though. And a strike for Maumee over on lane number 1. Jacob up on lane number 4. And that's a strike for Jacob. And 8 for Maumee on lane number 2 to start his 10th frame, leaving the 5-9. Elijah on lane number 1 for his 10th frame will start out with a strike. Maumee on lane number 3 ends up with a strike. Ashton gets a strike for the 9th frame. Elijah's second ball, 10th frame on lane number 1. And he gets 9, leaves the 6th pin. Michael starting his 10th frame on lane number 3. And he'll leave it the 10 pin standing. Maumee can't convert their spare on lane number 2. And he'll finish with a 159. Michael picks up his spare. He'll get one more ball in the 10th. And a strike for Maumee on lane 2 to start his 10th. And Elijah finished strike 9 spare for a 256. Good game, Elijah. And Michael picks up 8 and will finish with a 193. That'll bring up Jacob Hull on lane number 3 for his 10th frame. Preston does get his spare. He'll get one more for the 10th. And a strike for Jacob to start the 10th frame. And Maumee will finish with 162 on lane number 2. And Preston with a strike will finish with a 184 on lane number 1. Jacob with another strike for his second ball in the 10th. Maumee gets 9 on lane 2 to start their 10th frame, leaving the 4-pin. On lane 4, he'll start the 10th frame with a strike. Maybe he wasn't his 10th frame. It must have been his... Oh, that was... I'm sorry, that was his last ball of the 10th frame. So that Maumee bowler finished with a 162. Maumee picks up their spare on lane number 2. He'll get one more ball. Maumee's 5th bowler starting his 10th frame, and he'll start it with a strike. Jacob Hull finishes with a 205. Ashton gets 9, leaving the 5-pin. Ashton, spare attempt underway. Picks that up. Maumee up on lanes 2 and 4. A strike on lane 2 and an 8 count, leaving the 3-6 on lane 4. The Maumee bowler on lane number 2 finishes up with a 182 game. Ashton finishes with a 150. And Maumee picks up 1 and will finish with a 187. Wait here just to get official confirmation on the scores as they talk it over before starting off the Baker games. Just as a reminder, a Baker game, there'll be still 5 bowlers for each team, but instead of bowling full games, they'll bowl 1 frame at a time, each with a different bowler. So the first bowler will bowl the first frame, second bowler, second frame, and so on until we get to the 5th bowler. On the 6th frame, the first bowler will come back and bowl, and then the order repeats with the 5th bowler bowling the 10th frame. So this match was made up of 2 individual games, followed by 3 Baker games, and then total pins will win the match.
Hands on 3. 1, 2, 3, cats.
All right, as a scoring recap, we have Michael Gallagher with a 193, Jacob Hull with a 205, Ashton with a 150, Preston with a 184, and Elijah Wolf with a 256 for a total of 988. Maumee had a 187, Andrew Bick, Gabe Burton, 182, Michael Ilwinski, 162, Alex Leeser, 162, and Lars Lucio, 159 for a total of 852. All right, you should see the updated scores now on the top left, the top right corner of your screen. Napoleon started out with 7, while Maumee starts out with a strike. First bowler for Napoleon is Elijah, so spare attempt underway. And a nice spare from Elijah. Maumee's second bowler, a little bit heavy, leaves the 3-6-10. Preston's up in the number 2 slot for Napoleon, and he'll get a strike. That'll bring up James Gherkin, number 3. And James with a strike for Napoleon, back-to-back strikes. Maumee, spare attempt, second frame. And he gets 2, misses the 3. Michael Gallagher is up for Napoleon, number 4 slot. And Michael with a strike. 3 strikes in a row for Napoleon. Maumee's third bowler. That one's a little bit, I was going to say heavy, but left the 4-7. Jacob Hull, number 5 bowler. Oh, leaves the 4-10, or I'm sorry, the 7-10 split. That looked like a good ball. Maumee picks up their spare in the third frame. Jacob trying to get at least 1 here and hope for a little bit of a miracle. And he gets the 7. Maumee's 4th bowler. Nice ball for a strike. That'll bring Elijah back up for the 6th frame. And Elijah leaves a 4-pin. Maumee's 5th bowler. And he also leaves the 4-pin. Elijah's spare attempt. Picks that up easily. And Maumee's spare attempt also covers it. Spare shooting so important to scoring well in bowling. Preston with 9, leaving the 6th pin. Brings up Maumee's first bowler again. And a strike for him. Preston's spare attempt. And he gets that one. 7th frame, Maumee. And he's light on that. Ends up leaving the 2-pin. Gets 9. James Gherkin, lane number 3 for Napoleon. And a strike for James. And a spare for Maumee in the 7th. Michael, lane number 3 for Napoleon. And he leaves the 6-pin, or I'm sorry, the 4-pin. And a split for Maumee, leaving the 4-9. Michael, spare attempt. Picks that up. Maumee trying to get to the left side of the 4-pin and kick it back to the 9. Pulls it a little too far left. Brings up Jacob Hull. Lane number 3. Gets 9, leaving the 7. Maumee's fourth bowler gets a strike in the 9th frame. Close Baker game. If Jacob picks up this spare and strikes, they can get a maximum of 204. Oh, he missed. Okay, so he ends up with a 193. Napoleon ends up with a 193 in the first Baker game. Maumee can finish with a 194, but they'll have to strike in all 3 frames. And he gets 9 in the first. Again, in a high school match, it's not who wins each individual Baker. It all is a matter of total pins. So right now, Napoleon leads by a score of 2,025 to 1,580. And we'll add the totals of these first this first Baker game for each team. So Maumee does pick up their spare there. And he picks up 8 on his final ball, and they'll finish with a 172. All right, so that was 193 to 172. That'll bring the total pins for Napoleon up to 2218, and Maumee for 1752. So currently Napoleon leads by about 434 pins. Is that about right? Just over 400 pins, we'll call it that. And Elijah starts Napoleon out with a strike. Maumee up next. And Maumee answers with a strike of their own. Preston, another strike for Napoleon. That's back-to-back strikes. Maumee just a bit heavy on that, ends up leaving the 3-pin. James Gherkin now. He's light, ends up leaving the head pin and the 2-pin. 1-2. Maumee, spare attempt. Got it. James, his spare attempt is next. Oh, just missed it. And a strike for Maumee, or frame number 3 on the third bowler, frame 3. Ashton with a strike. Maumee's fourth bowler gets a strike. Jacob with a strike in the 5th frame. Brings up Maumee, their 5th bowler. And a strike for him as well. That'll bring us into the bottom half of the second game. Just a little bit light from Elijah on that one. Ends up leaving the 2-4-5-8. And a strike from Maumee. And Elijah picks up his spare. Preston up, leaving the 6-10. Maumee gets 8. Their spare attempt underway. And he picks that up. Preston, spare attempt underway. Oh, he's just inside. All right, if you want to let me know in the chat which is easier to read, the white letters or the kind of the dark blue letters. Trying something different with the score, so any help you guys can give will make the experience better for everyone. James with a strike in the 8th frame. And another strike from Maumee in their 9th frame. That's strikes in the 8th and 9th. Ashton. And a strike for Napoleon in the 9th frame. Maumee with the edge going into the 10th frame here. And a strike for Maumee to start the 10th frame. And Jacob with a strike to start his 10th. Maumee, second ball, 10th frame. This is the second Baker game. And he's heavy. Ends up leaving the 4-6-9 or 7-9-10. Jacob picks up 9, leaving the 4 pin. Maumee's split is very difficult. All right, Maumee picks up 3 and finishes with a 241. And Jacob picks up his spare, and Napoleon finishes with a 207. All right, so again, 241 for Maumee, 207 for Napoleon. That'll bring the total pins up 24-25 to 19-93. I have 1 vote, dark blue, on the chat. Anybody else want to chime in? Appreciate the feedback. Napoleon started with a strike for Elijah. That'll bring up Preston. Maumee starts with a 7. And they have a split, the 4-7-10. Preston, just a little bit heavy, leaves the 3-6-10. Maumee can't convert their spare. Preston's spare attempt underway, and he gets it. Maumee's second bowler leads as a 6-10. James Light ends up leaving the 1-2-9 or 1-2-8. Maumee spare attempt. Picks up 1. James spare attempt, third frame, final Baker game. Looks good, got it. Maumee's third frame. Over on lane 3. Light leaving the 1-2. And I believe that's Ashton leaves a 7-pin. And Maumee picks up their spare, lane number 3. Ashton picks up his spare on lane number 4. And that's 9 for Maumee from their 5th bowler. I believe, or is that their 4th bowler? That's their 4th bowler. Ends up leaving the 6th pin. Jacob Leaves a 10-pin standing. And Maumee can't convert their spare over on lane number 3. And a strike for Maumee from their 5th bowler. Jacob picks up his spare. Maumee's heavy, leaving the 6-10. And that was Michael with a strike for Napoleon in the 6th frame. Maumee can't convert their spare over on lane number 3. Preston up for Napoleon now, frame number 7. And he leaves a 9-pin. And Maumee leaving the 3-6-10. That's their 7th frame. Preston got a spare. And Maumee gets their spare. James Gherkin, frame number 8. Good looking shot. Can't get the 10 to fall. There were pins rolling towards it, just not enough steam to knock it down. And a strike from Maumee in the 8th frame. James, spare attempt. Just inside, can't convert it. You'll see a lot of the girl and boy bowlers switching balls between the first part of the frame and the spare part of the frame, depending on what spare they need to make. Most of the time, that's either a less aggressive or a plastic ball that will go straighter. Ashton gets 9, leaving the 3-pin. Ashton can't convert his spare. I don't know if he pulled that or it came off his hand wrong or something. Maumee had a ball come up out of the gutter to take out the 10 pins, so they're resetting the rack. Jacob gets unlucky and leaves the 4, 6, 7, 10 split in the 10th. Again, not much you can do with this split. Try to take out 2 and hope that something bounces around to take out the other side of the frame or other side of the rack. And Maumee finishes with a 126 in their final Baker game. And Jacob finishes with and Napoleon finishes with a 160. All right, so I'll put the unofficial scores up on the top right corner of the screen until I can get the official scores from the coaches. But it would appear that Napoleon has defeated Maumee 25-85 to 21-19. All right, so Baker games of 193, 207, and 160 for Napoleon. That's a total of 560. Added to match play is 2025, gives a total of 2585. And Maumee has Baker games of 172, 241, and 126, total of 539. Add that to 1580, and they end up with a 2119. So Napoleon wins by 466 pins. All right. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining the live stream today. We have another match tomorrow, a away match with Evergreen in Swanton, Ohio. The girls should be bowling tomorrow, so join us for that. The boys will be bowling as well. So everybody have a good night. Thank you for joining us, and go Wildcats.